Hello and welcome everyone to today's Fairygodboss live webinar. We are so excited to have you all join us. We are going to give folks a few seconds to connect. And while we are waiting, we'd love to know where everyone's tuning in from today. So please use the chat facility on the right side of your screen if you're comfortable doing so, and send us a message in the chat saying where you're from. I see we have folks from Wow, we literally see folks from all over. That's great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Aparna Kadari, Information Security Director at Fannie Mae. Before we get started, I have a few quick announcements. This session will be recorded and shared by email with all the participants who've registered. During the discussion, we would love to hear from you. We hope you will use the stage chat on the right, the same as how you're doing now, on the right side of your screen, to send messages, comments, and questions to the panelists and to each other. For those who do not know, Fairygodboss is the largest online career community for women. Millions of women visit Fairygodboss for career connections, jobs, community advice, hard to find intel about how companies treat women, and virtual events like this. And now I'm excited to kick off today's event. Women in Tech share their top tips for career mobility, sponsored by Fannie Mae. I'm thrilled to introduce my colleagues. Sailaja Malladi. She's a senior manager, software engineering at Fannie Mae, a seasoned professional with over 25 years of experience with technology and process improvements, with a passion for building high-performing teams and delivering innovative solutions. She leads software development from concept to production with a focus on scalability and efficiency. She has 2 patents contributing to technology advancements in defining release governance using Jira and release management for DORA metrics using Jira. She spearheaded many initiatives contributing towards process improvements as part of the Agile transformation in Fannie Mae. On the personal front, her family is celebrating 2 major graduations this year. Her older son graduated from college and starting his new chapter in life with entering the corporate American workforce. And her younger son graduated from high school and is stepping into the fun world of college. Next is Sanya Bhatia. She's the technical product manager for Fannie Mae. She comes with a rich background in software engineering and test automation. Her passion lies in product development with keen focus on understanding and enhancing customer experience. When she moved to the United States in 2017 from India, outside of work, she's also a dedicated mother to a 1-year-old son and an avid traveler whenever there's an opportunity. Amanandan Dhami, Amy, is a senior manager, digital transformation and integration at Fannie Mae. She's an experienced information technology leader with 15 plus years in product and program management. She has led implementations of award-winning open source applications at the state and local governments, providing transparency into building government spending. She's passionate about equal opportunity and believes that everyone has what it takes to be the person they want to be. She has an MBA from Johnson and Wales University and a BA in hospitality management from University of Huddersfield, United Kingdom. Thank you all. I'm excited about our discussion today. And for those just tuning in, I would like to remind everyone that we will be answering questions that come directly from all of you at the end of the panel discussion. Please do submit your questions on the chat on the right side of the screen, and we will do our best to respond to as many as we can. My first question is to Sailaja. Thinking back on your career progression or pivots, what would be your advice to anyone who's considering a different career path or change in general?
Cool. Thank you, Aparna. So, as part of my career journey in Fannie Mae, I've had quite a few career moves. I've made quite a few career moves, and I've actually already also pivoted my career a couple of times, which was very interesting and a lot that I learned from that. So, for anybody thinking of a career move, thinking of pivoting the career, um, I, I I personally feel it's a three-pronged process, right? Firstly, you have to make sure that you are understanding your motivators. Why are you making that change? What is it that you're trying to achieve from that move, right? Where do you want to take your career? What are your dreams, goals that you want to achieve from it? So really trying to find your motivators, right? This is part of your self-discovery. Also, as part of this, it is important for you to understand where your skills are, right? Do you need to upskill as part of that? Do you need to make sure that you already have something that you can leverage, right? Are you ready to invest the time to, upskill and get to that next position? And finally, it's really, really important that you do the research, right? This is where you lean on your network, right? Talk to people that have been in those roles. Talk to them to understand the pros and cons. Talk about how this is going to impact you, right? And are you ready for that? And finally, it's really putting all of this together, right? And taking that leap of faith, making sure you're doing this as a calculated risk. And my personal journey at Fannie Mae has really been that, right? I've made in most of my career moves that I have made, it's really been that, right? Like, where did I want to take my career journey as part of my dream, through where I wanted to land my career. And it's really these steps that I've followed, right? And I've always picked up from all of these to make sure that I'm landing where I want to be, right? Not losing my technical flair. And finally, I think the biggest advice or suggestion that I would give to all the viewers is treat career as a journey, right? It's not a destination. You cannot stop, right? You have to be constantly passionate about following your path on where you want to go and where you want to reach. So.
Thank you, Salaja. Sanya, I'm going to ask you my next question. How have you benefited from the skills and experience you've gained over the course of your career journey in the tech industry?
Thanks, Aparna. Well, first off, I do want to thank Fairygodboss, Fannie Mae, and the leadership for giving me this platform to share my story. And I'm truly honored to share the panel with all of you incredible ladies. So I feel like skills, go a long way, no matter when you pick them up, right? So I'll share a little bit about my career journey. I started my career at the age of 20. I was a test automation engineer, and so as a test automation engineer, my main job was to really look at finding defects, right? What was wrong with the system? And so I was, constantly thinking of, hey, how can I find edge cases? How can I find something that's not working, right? And I progressed my career into software engineering. So, years later, I'm a developer. Now I'm writing Java backend. And I think coming from that test automation background, it really helped because I was able to build things that I knew needed to meet those edge cases. I kept thinking of, hey, is there functionalities I may miss? Is there areas that may go unnoticed? Is there a failure that I may, introduce in production or so on? So I think it gives you a more holistic picture. You look at a functionality differently, different perspective. And then just software engineering as a whole. One day I'm writing code, couple months later, we're moving to cloud, right? So everybody's upskilling. I got certified as a solutions architect in AWS. And then again, a couple months later, we're like, okay, now Kubernetes is here. Let's move our batches. So I felt like it was a very, very dynamic environment. Every couple months we were upskilling. And what that taught me is in this fast-paced industry, right? It's today, if there's a skill that needs me to upskill or learn, right, I'm faster, and I think I'm more accepting to change, and that's one benefit. And I can't stress enough about how this experience has helped me, as I navigated to being a technical product manager. I would not have been able to be where I am today without the experience and the knowledge of being a software engineer in the past. whether it's contributing to estimation with my developers, or pulling up in design sessions, or really bridging that gap between tech and business. I think it really helps me having that background, and I'm constantly upskilling on the job as well. So I feel like putting all of these career moves together today, I really have a broader perspective, coming from, looking at how to test a system, then developing a system, and now I'm like, what business value does this system generate, right? So I try to put it together, and it's definitely been a very valuable journey. And one thing I want to call out, actually, outside of just on-job skills that I learned over the course of my career, there's one thing that really helped me, and that was accepting, feedback, constructive feedback, whether it's from my peers or from my leadership. So it has not been really easy initially, but to be able to process and accept it and implement that feedback has really worked for me. So just something I wanted to call out.
Thank you so much, Sanya. That's amazing. Feedback is indeed a gift, and we should all remember to make sure that we take feedback, but also remember to turn it into something tangible. That takes us to our next question. And Amy, what role do you think women play in shaping a company's culture, and how can organizations leverage this influence to promote diversity and inclusion?
Thank you, Aparna, for asking that question. First of all, let me just say it's absolutely a privilege to be sitting and sharing this platform with you all. So very, very inspiring group of women. And thank you for providing the opportunity to speak to anybody who's listening over there and share our experience. That's a very, very good question that you asked, and is definitely the need of an hour. So we know over and over again, the data, the researches, they have shown that companies that have women in their leadership roles, their profits and their share performance, can be increased by as close as 50%. That is a huge number. I don't know how anybody can ignore that, right? 50% is huge, bottom line, right? So, but yet we see that there are only 24% of women, they're only holding, only 24% of the women are holding STEM positions in our industry. So that's a huge gap. When you look at even the total workforce, if you look at the Googles, the Amazons, the Apples, the Facebooks of the world, the bigwigs, the Microsoft, it's only 34% of their total workforce. So we need to work on this, and it looks like there's a huge gap we do need to fill, right? But how can you do it? And it seems like it's a very big, tall order. But when you look at the solutions, it's actually very simple. Let's start with equal pay for equal work. I think that's a great start, isn't it? Right? That would resonate with all this potential talent and the diverse workforce that we have. It's going to attract that, right? Let's give working, flexible working hours. And I know with the COVID, we have made strides of improvement, but there has been some pullback that we have seen across the industry. So we are losing on that very potential workforce that can help us increase our margins by 50% if the researches are to be believed, right? In addition to that, let's look at, and since we're talking about changing the careers and how we have moved from one industry to another, let's look at how our job descriptions are written today. They are so focused on your competencies that you currently have. And technology is anything but change, right? We are the leaders in change. So let's look at those job descriptions and give a little bit of room to improve, so more women can start coming in and acquiring these technical skills. But it takes a lot more to be a successful IT leader. And we have seen that time and again, from Tim Cook to Bill Gates. It's more than technology. You need to have skills like empathy, communication to be actually successful. So let's just start creating that learning environment where we can have those conversations. We can start involving women to share their learning and development. And then we can also start including them in this learning journey and be committed through mentorship. So we can have a culture that can ask tough questions, like biases, for example. Nobody has to be heard, but these are some of the data proven issues that we do need to address. So if you look around us, if we just give voice to everyone, we can continue to leverage women in leading this industry forward. So let's start with equal pay, I think. I think that would be a good start. So, Aparna, let me ask you actually, let's just flip the table over here. And let me ask you, what has your career journey been like? Have you, can you shed some light on your roles that you had previously held and any experiences that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. I came to the United States as an international student, got my MBA. I had an undergraduate in pharmaceutical sciences. I aspired to be a pharmacist. But things took a turn when 9/11 happened. I was homeless for a bit, then went without food for a couple of days, and I had to make the decision to find something that pays. And at that time, information technology was the only place where I could find a job and a sponsor, as in with the immigration situation. So I quickly found a company that could actually help me stay in the country and make a salary. So I started with data analysis. I was in the financial industry for quite a bit, worked in pharmaceuticals also, but as a project manager. Then worked at Freddie Mac briefly doing Six Sigma, and then came over to Fannie Mae as a release and production support analyst. I think that's exactly when my career took off, and until then, I was a career nomad. But then I found my calling. I did run successful projects, programs, initiatives, did a lot of startup within Fannie Mae in conjunction with other GSEs. And about 5 years ago, I landed in InfoSec. Now you may ask, you've done so many things. Have all of these ever contributed to who you are today? Absolutely. Nothing has gone waste. All the experiences that I've collected and gathered and experienced have created who I am today, have led to the successes that I'm experiencing today. They also attributed to how I develop my leadership skills. And while I do not know how to be a great manager, I always work on how not to be a bad one. So that has been my career journey. Many more stories to share, but I will, spare you for the moment.
So besides being homeless and not having food for 2 days, were there other factors that contributed to changing your role and having a pivot in your career?
Having done so many other jobs and roles within information technology, and having also done enablement services, I somehow found deep gratification in doing technology operations and engineering roles. So at some point in my career, after like 12 or 13 years of, like I said, being a career nomad, I had to be sure on what my next move is going to be like and where I found my happiness. And while information security is not really appealing to many, I think this is my calling, and hence why I'm here today. And I hope to enhance my skills in the information security space, but also to give back to the community through events like these and help those who want to change their careers like I did, pivot to new roles like I did, or maybe restart their careers. I had to restart my career several times, each time when I changed my role. So here I am today, sharing and all the experiences that I've had, and I'm sure many more with all of your help.
That's inspiring.
So thanks, Amy. Oh, all right. We'll keep the questioning going. Sailaja, back to you again. What do you find most rewarding and challenging about your current work in technology?
Oh, wow. That's a very good question. So quite a few things. The job, the very definition of job is challenge, right? I'm sure everybody will agree. But I think really thinking back, right, several challenges, but I think one of the biggest ones that really sticks with me and I feel is something very close to me is, every time I've made a career move, every time I've pivoted my career, right? The fact that I had to prove myself and get to the stage where I am, right? It's sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, right? For all of us, we have some inherent skills that we bring as we move into our dream job, right? Into our next career move. But sometimes there are skills that you are expected to learn on the fly. There are skills that you're expected to learn really fast, right? So I think it's been a challenge, or every time I've made that career, I've definitely seen that as a big challenge for myself. But I think for me, I've almost taken that on the other side and kind of looked at it as a reward, right? How did I overcome that challenge? How did I make my mark in that position, right? How did I, sustain myself, and how did I make my next career move, right? So for me, I've almost kind of learned over the years to flip it to my advantage, to say, hey, you know what? This was my challenge, but see the reward, right? I've been able to sustain it. I've been able to prove myself. I've been able to build that right rapport with my leadership, right? And I've been able to deliver based on what my expectations are. So this is one big challenge that's more at a personal level in my professional front. Coming to more challenges, one more example that I'd really like to share with you all is about my team or my current role, right? So my team and I, we support some of the most widely used products in the company. We have a huge user base across the company. So, that itself comes as a big challenge, right? So every time we're trying to make software changes, we're trying to make changes to these products, it has a huge impact, right up from leadership through every persona, every role in the company. So for us, while I consider that as a big challenge, flipping it, just like I said previously, right? I really look at this as an opportunity for me and my team, right? Where we are taking those challenges as, how are we going to make this product better for these customers across the company? We have so many different personas, so many different requirements to satisfy at each stage, at each level, right? With all the people using our products and the services. So for me, while that comes as a big challenge, it's almost looking at it on the other side, saying, how do I think differently? How do I think outside the box to make sure that my one solution is fitting all of these use cases, right? And the third thing that I really want to allude to, I think all technologists agree to this, is ever evolving and the ever changing technical landscape. We all face it. Sonia just alluded to it in her previous response, right? So keeping up with that technology, I think, becomes a daunting task for most of us, right? But I think the flip, or the reward, the way I look at it personally, and something that I would really like to encourage and share with you all is, what happens when the technology landscape is changing? You're expected to upskill, right? You're expected to adapt. You're expected to start using it for your customers and your users across, right? So it's a great opportunity and a great reward for you to upskill and actually be there, so that you're bringing those advantages back to your users, right? So, whole and whole, right? It's I almost see challenges and rewards as two sides of a coin, right? On one side, it's the challenges, which can be daunting, right? And can really test you. But you flip the coin, look at the other side. Those challenges actually become opportunities for you, which in turn become rewards. So it could be small, big, no matter what, but there's always a reward. And, with my 25 years of experience, I can vouch for it, right? There's always a reward at the end of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Sanya, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their current career path and is considering making a change?
Thanks for your question, Aparna. I think this one is important to me. So I think feeling stuck has happened to a lot of us, and it's unfortunately it's just a sad situation to be in, right? So I would say, take a step back and think about why do you feel stuck. Is there a specific role that you would perhaps be in, or you feel more passionate about doing? So let's say there's a role out there that you would rather see yourself in, and look it up. If you find something online or at a certain forum, look at the responsibilities. If you feel like your skill set matches, go ahead, apply. And hey, just note that as women, we tend to look at all of the criteria on that requirement before we really go and apply for a role, right? So women won't apply unless, and this is statistically proven, unless we meet like 9 out of 10 at least. Men are more adventurous. They'll go with 3 out of 10. So if you feel like, there's a role out there that you would rather be in, go ahead, apply for it. If you think there's a gap, then I would recommend, upskilling yourself, attend trainings, workshops, and, identify that skill that you think may be, beneficial to be part of your skill set before you go ahead apply. And this also comes with setting some personal goals. I think updating your resume is key. It's more like a kickstart. Once we really do it, once that resume is ready, you're really out there now looking for something. That's one thing I personally also procrastinated. And then, one thing that I can think of, and I can't again emphasize more, is the need to have a mentor. So, have someone, it doesn't have to be in your immediate team. I mean, if it is, that's great. Anyone in your organization, leadership, agnostic of gender, it can be anyone. Or even outside your organization, you probably go to networking events or workshops and you meet someone who really understands where you're coming from, what your journey is like, what your aspirations are, and somebody who can point you to the right resources, right? It's very, very valuable in my opinion. So if you can find the right mentor for you, go for it. And in addition to these, I think if I think of, I think networking is key. You really want to make a change now. So, you're looking online for a specific role, and there isn't always, a great deal of jobs there. So maybe network with people, with like minds, and go to these events, summits, workshops, and networking actually generates a lot of job opportunities in general. And even if it doesn't, you just meet people with a lot of perspective, backgrounds, and just various cultures, and it's very valuable to add while you're in this process, right? Add to your journey while you're in the process. And finally, I think, I've been through this personally. I think it's very, very important in the process to stay positive. It can be, an emotional uproar. It can be a long process for some, really depending on your skill set and the kind of role you want to move to. So, find your friends, family, people you can, talk to for that encouragement and perspective. And, if you know what you want to do, just know that it's a matter of time before you get there. So yeah, just stay positive. It'll happen.
Thank you, Sanya. Sanya's talked a lot about networking, surrounding yourself with mentors, coaches, and everything that contributed to her strengths. Can you share a personal example from your career on how you managed and how you took control when you were choosing different career paths or change in general?
Definitely. I think if you look at my career journey, it has been nothing but changes. So every scar on my back narrates a story of the lows and the highs of the highs. So nothing really stays steady. The way I have at least approached this is being resilient. Resiliency would really, really get you through. Even if the whole world is telling you you can't do it, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to start setting up smaller goals for your own self, and then be kind to yourself. Give yourself a pat. And every time you fail, do not see that, oh, I failed. It's necessary. You cannot learn to walk unless you have fallen down a few thousand times, right? What do? Do you stop walking, or do you just brush it off and try it again? So if you are failing, that means you're doing something good. How many of us actually remember our lessons from successes? I can tell you, going back to my lower kindergarten, I can tell you there are some of the failures that I still remember, and I will never forget that until I guess I die. So as long as you are learning from those failures, it is good. It is good. Take a risk. But you do need to, and Sania has mentioned a lot about the networking, right? You have to surround yourself with the right people who are there to cheer you on and who are there to steer you in the right path. I cannot stress the importance of that enough, and that is something I learned way late in my career. Even if you don't get what you want, for example, an opportunity to move forward, networking helps build confidence. You'll be able to see how many people have similar experiences that you are going through. So you will not feel alone. And that's very important to building that tenacity, that confidence, and that belief in yourself. And last not the least, it is a marathon. So I can tell you from my last experience when the 2008 happened, and here I was running advertising for both UK and US markets. So I was feeling on top of the world. And then 2008 happened, and that was a fall. That was a big fall from grace. It took me 3 years to get my hold, to get my footing. I had to reskill myself and learn technology. That's how I ended up in technology. But was that really bad time frame for 3 years? It was. I had to move around. I had to give away my house, everything, had to relocate to Texas. Not a bad place to be in. I was in Austin, so really can't complain. But I had to give up everything. But that is just the price you pay. But I learned a whole lot. I met a lot of people, really good people, and I was able to stand on my own 2 feet. So I would say if when it is dark, do not lose faith in yourself and just keep trying and move forward.
Definitely.
Those are just some really interesting points from Amy. And Aparna, I want to take this opportunity to ask you another question. In your experience, what specific strategies have been most effective in promoting gender diversity and inclusion at Fannie Mae?
So before answering this question, I just want to point out I've been with Fannie Mae 16 plus years, and there's no place I'd rather be. And I'm not saying this because I still work for Fannie Mae, but I've been given so many opportunities, so much coaching and mentoring, like you all said, that I feel included no matter where I went. So, to the question, promoting gender diversity and inclusion actually requires a multifaceted approach. Some of the most effective strategies that I've seen Fannie Mae work through is leadership commitment, which is very important. Leadership commitment to equality and opportunity and inclusion, inclusive culture, policies, and practices. Just lip service doesn't matter. We need to reflect that in the policies and procedures, which Fannie Mae greatly does. Diversity training. Each one of us has mandatory training, specific trainings, and trainings that we can take on our own to enhance our power skills and to be astute with what's happening within the corporate America. Mentorship, a lot of mentorship opportunities, peer mentoring opportunities, and most of all, women need more sponsorship than mentorship, which is available to all interested Fannie Mae employees. There are so many employee resource groups that help us with that inclusivity and our thought process, keeping us engaged. Some days when I am missing home, uh, even though I've been away from home for 25 years, there's so much these employees resource groups bring that I don't miss home as much. Then partnership and network. These are some of the greatest things and effective strategies that Fannie Mae embraces to make us feel at home and make us feel included. So thank you, Sania, for asking us that question. Before I go to the next question, I do see something in the chat on Kelly asking about transferable skills and how we carried over some of the skills when we changed our careers. So, Sailaja, this question is very well timed. Can you share an example of a transferable skill you learned in your previous industry or role that has helped you in your current role?
Yes. So actually, I'm going to take my Fannie Mae experience here, right? So over my course of over 20 plus years at this company, I think for me, what has really made that mark, right? And again, to what Aparna said, I'm working here, but I think this is what I really, really want to promote about Fannie Mae, right? We are encouraged to upskill here. We are encouraged to take training to be, at par with whatever your dream aspirations about your career are, right? So, coming back to my career journey, I started as a software developer in Fannie Mae way back. I'm not going to date it. I don't want to date myself. But when I started, right, there was a lot of things that I had to learn being an immigrant. Communication skills, being able to speak confidently, right? Just navigating the workforce here, right? So while there were a lot of skills that I thought I already bought being a software developer, like critical thinking, problem solving, right? These come to you naturally. There was a few acquired skills that I had to learn, right? Like going and talking to people, trying to convince them with your way of thinking, and so on and so forth. While I was in that journey, I decided maybe about 10 years into my journey as a technologist to become a project manager. And guess why? It was just because it was the buzzword. It felt good, right? Being a project manager felt much nicer than being a developer. And when I made that career pivot, it was really interesting for me because I did not lose my complete technical flair because I was a technology project manager, but I was able to add to the skill sets that I was actually gathering as part of all the skills under my belt. Right, being a project manager, I learned talking confidently to stakeholders, being able to convince people on your deadlines, working through deadlines, tracking your team back, right, to make sure that you're working through these deadlines. So it's not just one skill set, right? Being able to present, being able to speak in public forums. So a lot of those skills that I kind of gathered along the way, and most of it I probably did unconsciously, right, because they were the requirement of the job. Right? And of course, there were a lot of skills that I probably also not, now thinking back, where I did it consciously to make sure that I was actually upskilling to stay part of that job, right? This is where I, all the trainings, the wonderful trainings from Fannie Mae, where I, did to get my PMP, to get my, my product management certification, moving along to my next pivot of my career, right? So my journey pretty much was starting as technologist, being a developer, getting those skill sets, right? Being a project manager, a technical project manager. So adding on, my development, critical thinking, those core skill sets to something a little more, then taking those and then moving those forward, right? I have been in roles where I did a little bit of product management as well. And my current job, kind of summing it all, right? My current job, I actually use a bit of all of these skills that I have learned, right? So, now that you asked the question, Aparna, I never felt that I have transferred these skills. They've probably just, been, I didn't even pay conscious effort, but they've just been coming with me so far, right? Whether I've consciously made the effort to take these skill sets and put them into practice, or whether they've just stuck with me because of all my previous experience and my previous learning. I feel my current job is really, in need of all of that, right? I'm a software development manager, so I have to have, I have to be working through deadlines. I have to be talking to my stakeholders to convince them on, where my changes are going next. Looking at my roadmap and vision, right? Making sure that I'm working towards this target state for my products and the changes that I'm giving the customers. Having that customer focus, right? Where I'm wearing the hat of a product manager. So, in big or small, I feel every skill set is transferable. Every skill set that you learn from your previous pivots or your previous changes, you consciously or unconsciously tend to use it with your current role. So, I would say the most important thing is in a role that you are today or any role that you aspire to be, it is important for you to do that self-discovery, right? Like, what are these skills? Because sometimes we don't even pay, conscious effort, right? What is it that I am strong at? What is it that I can do naturally? What naturally comes to me, right? Where do I need to do that upskilling to make sure that I'm ready? So, to me, big or small, we are unconsciously always taking these skill sets. I remember it's a good analogy, right? It's like a string of pearls. You're collecting each pearl and stringing it together to make yourself whole, right? So I really feel skills are pretty much like that.
Thank you, Salaja. Sanya, Amy, even though we are not in the lightning round, I would really like you to take these questions and make them lightning responses in the interest of time. So, Sanya, your question is, what are some of the challenges women face in workplace today, and how can we alleviate those challenges?
Very interesting question. I think it's a very common question also, but definitely needs to be answered. There's a few challenges, Aparna, that I can think of on top of my head. I guess the first would be, bias and stereotyping, right? A lot of women have experienced or still continue to experience, just questions raised around their technical competence or being questioned on their leadership abilities or ability to lead beyond what they're currently doing, right? And assumptions that they're less suited for certain leadership roles. I think these are common, and they can play a very important role though. And I feel like the way that we can alleviate these biases and stereotypes is through diversity and inclusion, right? Having more campaigns, initiatives, anything that fosters a more inclusive environment. And I know Fannie Mae, of course, plays a key advocate. You were just talking about this, Aparna, and there's a lot of initiatives available that they're running, and it really does talk about their commitment to equality as a whole. So that would probably be the number one challenge. And then one common challenge that I have, observed in my career is lack of lack of a role model really in the industry, right? With lesser women in these leadership roles, there's just limited availability for that vision or someone you can talk to, because now, let's say 3 on 10 women really make it to leadership, and I'm looking to really have a one-on-one or career direction. There's lesser time and availability for that inspiration. And I feel like the way we can alleviate this is maybe authentic employee stories, right? Real stories, like, for example, what you guys shared here. If you can really share how you pivoted your career, the struggles you had, the challenges you faced, it would really pave the path for some of us that are looking to maybe make similar decisions or, scramble through the same journey, or maybe not make some mistakes that, someone already learned from. So yeah, I think absence of role models can definitely be alleviated with more stories being available, and authentic ones, of course. And then also maybe mentorship programs. I know Fannie Mae does these as well, but if we could have more mentorship available with women leaders, just some time that we were able to spend together for folks seeking advice, guidance, that would really alleviate some of the challenges as well. And I do want to add one really quick challenge that I can't, relate more to. So I'm a new mom, and I feel like one of the key challenges I face now is just work-life balance, right? Because we know the proportion of time that women really allocate, to their personal lives at a certain point in time is more. It's a higher percentage, right? So there is real guilt, there is real anxiety, there's fear. And then at the same time, like, you want to make a difference, you want to come to work, you're good at this job, and you want to make these decisions. But balancing, like, work-life balance, this phrase has never made so much more sense to me in the past. And I think the way we can address this is by more programs like this, like Fairygodboss, or more women in tech programs, just getting like-minded women together, in workshops, trainings, conferences. So we're really listening to each other, gaining that encouragement. And you hear everyone's story and you're like, oh, I'm not alone. She had a similar struggle. So I think just getting us together, more of these initiatives would really foster that environment and alleviate that challenge. I know we're moving to Amy's response.
Yep, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Amy, I'm going to put some focus on some of the questions that have been asked, and hopefully you're able to provide some answers to how a 19-year-old Abigail can stay positive and learn to code, and and what can she draw inspiration from? Alekia also asked the same question as she just graduated from college, trying to get a job in tech. So my question is, what career advice would you give them?
So, so these are both our viewers fresh out of college and trying to pave their way into the industry, or are
It
they
seems so. It seems so, but more or less, if you can touch on, how they can take control of their situation, probably in your experience on what you did when you were new to your career. What did you do effectively so that you were able to get that foot in the door?
Definitely. Look, I graduated when we probably did not even have LinkedIn, so I'm not going to date myself over there. But online resources, LinkedIn is a fantastic resource. Reach out to, send out the email and tell them, hey, this is my background, this is what I'm looking for. And for every 100 no's, you may get 2 yeses who would be willing to help you out, to navigate, to talk to you. So that is one resource. Social media is absolutely pivotal in and leverage it. The second one, if you're still in college or if you're just recent graduate, reach out to your resource center, your career center. They are way more connected than you would know. We have programs, they probably are connected with the programs. I know Fannie Mae, we offer an excellent program for new graduates. So similarly, there would be campus hire programs that they can connect you with. Another resource is reaching out to your alumni circle. Connect with them. That is probably the easiest way to connect and get some direction and get into join the internship programs through them. The last I would say is talk to everyone. Talk to your parents, talk to your parents' friends. You would be surprised how well connected they are. And do not hesitate to even take volunteer work so that you can showcase your abilities, and this way you will have a product to showcase to a potential hire. Even if it is an internship where you do not get paid, I have done it, I promise you. And those pay, and at least you will be able to also get a reference. That's how I landed in my very first role, was through the reference of a tourism council where I interned unpaid, but it did lead to a career from there. So I'm hoping some of this helps you. If you are on LinkedIn, do connect with the recruiters and highlight your banner as open to work. That way you would be, the recruiters, potential recruiters would be able to see you. I'm hoping this helps.
Yep. Alekia, since you can tell, a lot has changed since our time. So giving you an answer on what we would have thought differently when we were your age probably is invalid. So Amy gave you all the resources and how-tos that you can leverage probably in this age and time versus what we could have done differently.
Yeah. I have even taken my resumes door to door. I kid you not. I have solicited for that purposes too.
Awesome. Thank you. So I think we're at a time where we can open this up to any questions from the audience. And I do see some that Daniela has tagged for us. So this question is open for all of you. So please take turns to come off mute. Have you ever been in a toxic environment? And how do you move up in one of these environments?
I can take that. Look, as a woman, I think we can resonate more with this. And the last time I think I found myself in that kind of an environment, and I will tell you, you really have to, first of all, understand what is this toxic environment? What is the extent of it? Are you in danger? For me, that's a big thing. And if that is the case, you don't think about moving up. You think about moving out, and you think about protecting yourself. You think about involving HR in these discussions, depending on what is the toxicity level of your environment. From a Fannie Mae perspective, it's such a great place to work at, and the psychological safety that Fannie Mae provides us is bar to none. We do have number of channels where if we are going through anything, we are able to reach out to our mentors or even reach out anonymously. So that is a privilege, I think, as a Fannie Mae employee we enjoy. I don't know your situation, so I would definitely ask you to assess the toxicity of the environment and not think about move up. I would move out if it is not contained.
Thank you. Shailaja, Sanya, any thoughts, comments?
I think Amy just brought up a great point, right? It's really the level of toxicity. It's important for you to gauge, and you are the only person that can determine that for yourself, right? So, there's always a boundary that you draw for yourself, right? A no is a no, right? And you have to make the right decisions depending on what is beyond your boundary of tolerance, right? So I think Amy nailed it. That's really it. And I'm just going to second it, right? Fannie Mae has such an amazing culture here where it's the psychological safety, right? The respect for each other, the anonymous way to give feedback, and give feedback in all directions, laterally, vertically, up, everywhere, right? The environment that we are in at Fannie Mae, I think, is such a such a true show of our culture here. The way women are respected, the way women are treated at leadership levels, right? So I think just like Amy said, I would really echo the same thing. It's really what level you are at with that toxicity and how much can you want to take it, right?
Thank you. I'll take the next question. We have 7 minutes left, so I'm going to try and answer as many as we can, okay? So the next question is, what are the topic areas that we should look at or focus on to be ready for the next set of new jobs?
I can go. So for me, I think the most important thing that anybody should consider, right? What is that next job that you're looking for, right? As part of that next job, you definitely have a certain required skill set, and then certain skill sets that you think you should be there. Like most of my, colleagues here was saying, Sanya mentioned it, right? As women, we tend to see that, out of 10, do I have 9, at least 9 before I apply, right? So don't get into that, right? Make sure you are well prepared. You understand what that role or the job entails before you get in there, and how much of upskill you need to do, how much skills that you already have that you can transfer, right? So getting a good mixture of that into place, I think is the first thing. And then, of course, network. I think that is something that we've all emphasized, right? Networking, leaning in on your network for advice, and making sure you're, talking to people, right? And of course, reaching out to a lot of these, resource groups. I think Aparna talked about it in great detail. So I think there are so many resources that we have, whether it's online, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's at your own current company, right? I think most companies do. So I think just taking tidbits from each of these, right, is really critical for you to look into, as you look into your next opportunity.
Yep, thank you. Well said. I want to add one more to Neelam's question, is to every job at every level has some power skills, formerly known as soft skills. They are your power skills, which are not only transferable, but also help you build that confidence for your next set of roles. As women, we, I think, look for 100% match for that role description. I think we should get out of that mindset. And even if you are able to attempt about 30 to 40% of what's in that role, we should take the leap of faith and go ahead and apply. And I'm sure whatever we just said has been told many times. Sania, go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to add, I think Aparna and Shalja really covered everything, but one thing that you could really, like a topic area, and I noticed this is, more behavior-driven situations, right? If you can reflect upon how many situations have you been in, and then how is it that you reacted to it, or you feel like you should have been reacting to, or, if you observe the situation, like even a toxic environment, right? I feel like these are very heavily assessed areas in interviews and job opportunities today, in addition to the skill set that you're applying to. So, a lot of, a good percentage of questions actually come from behavior patterns. They ask you, more of those questions. They want to know how you would handle, let's say, conflict or anything of that sort. So if you can just spend some time to reflect on it, you don't draw a blank in those situations, because a lot of us have been there. We just have to be conscious of, being reminded what exactly you did.
And lastly, just one quick point, because that's what has worked for me when I was making these career changes. Do you know what you really want to do? What role you're applying for? Talk to people who are already in that role. Understand the expectations from them, because your job description can be very different from what you actually execute on daily basis. So that would give you a very good window of where you need to upskill, or maybe you're already doing that type of work. So consider that as well. Talk to people who are already in that role.
Yep. So Stacy has made this comment as to anybody agreeing that transferring skills to change a career, stay connected on LinkedIn. So that's the LinkedIn, and feel free to connect with all of us here that have been presenting. So we would be honored to link in with you and help you in any shape or form. The next question, I think we can take a few questions. Hope we can truly make this a lightning round. Kristen has a question as to, do you have favorite online resources you used to learn about technology related to your career change?
Udemy is a good resource. LinkedIn also is a good resource. Within Fannie Mae, we just have a lot of resources. So generally, if I'm looking for something outside, chances are we already have it being offered within Fannie Mae. So that's kind of unique to us.
Very nice. Next question is, have you ever felt anxious when you started a new job? Probably. How do you overcome it? I'm still trying to loosen up and take any opportunity to learn without feeling anxious with new things.
I think feeling anxious is normal. If you have that little bit of anxiety, is going to give you a kick to a little rush of adrenaline to help you perform better, I guess, or perform or have more faith in yourself. I used to wear, I'm a big Apollo 13 fan, and I used to wear a band that said failure is not an option. And I promise you, after 2008 financial crisis, I wore that. And I did say failure is not an option. So something that would keep you kind of grounded. And again, I cannot stress enough another thing of having that sounding board with you. Someone that you fully trust, where you can, let your anxieties out. But having anxiety is a good thing to a bearable dose.
Got it. I am going to quickly go through one question. Do you need to know how to code to switch to IT industry? I did not. I cannot code to save my life, but I did,
Neither.
and here I'm here. So
neither.
Hope that answers your question. The last question that we can, and hopefully we are able to answer the rest of your questions in an offline pattern. But the last question is, what if you get branded as someone who causes problems? If you're a leader and has to do unethical things like manipulate report data, do you have any tips regarding dealing with issues like that as a leader? Anyone?
I wouldn't do anything that's unethical. Listen to your inside voice. integrity is the most important thing, and that's your brand. That's who you are. So if someone is telling you to do something that you know is unethical, there should be a way of escalating it, and just don't do it.
I absolutely second that. I think there is, there is never a situation that is that important where you're compromising on ethical behaviors, right? I would almost say this goes back to where you're drawing boundaries. This is probably the strongest boundary that all of us should draw, right? Especially being women leaders and women in technology. That's definitely a no-no, right? So it's important for you to consider that. And I think just adding on to what Amy said, right? If you feel like you're in that situation where you can't escape it, go to somebody that can actually help you, right? Every company has resources that are available where you can even approach things anonymously if you feel concerned about your safety or any kind of issues like that. In Fannie Mae, we have multiple resources that help that would help you out in situations like that, and I'm sure there are similar setups in other companies too. So.
Thank you all so much. I think we are slightly over time, but I will breeze through the closing remarks. And a huge thank you to all the attendees, Fairygodboss, Fannie Mae for helping us get to this event, Sailaja, Amy, and Sanya. Thank you for joining us and sharing your invaluable advice. And again, thanks to all of you who tuned in for the discussion. As a reminder, we'll be sending out the recording of today's event along with the resources to learn more about opportunities at Fannie Mae. In the meantime, be sure to check out Fannie Mae's profile and jobs on Fairygodboss. Also, we'd love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. Please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen if you have not already to share your thoughts. It's a 1-minute survey. It should be very quick. Again, thanks everyone. Hope to see you next time.
Thank you. It has been an honor.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.